There are a few interesting things about the Gospel of Luke. For starters, Luke never knew Jesus personally during his 3-year ministry here on earth. And like the Apostle Paul, he came to know Jesus after his death and resurrection. And he was also a very close companion to the Apostle Paul. The Gospel of Luke is the only gospel that has a sequel, the book of Acts, which continues with what happened after the resurrection of Jesus and how the early Christian church got started. Jesus was crucified around the year AD 33. The Gospel of Luke was probably written around AD 59. So you see, we're only talking about 26 years or so when Luke wrote his Gospel. Now, we don't know how long it took Luke to write his Gospel, but it's reasonable to say that many of the people that he interviewed and knew Jesus were definitely still alive. One of the reasons why Luke's Gospel can be trusted is because he used an investigative approach to create a historical gospel. So Luke's Gospel is not only divinely inspired, but can be treated as a historical document. A historical document tries to only report the facts. One way that this is evident is in the lack of prejudice towards women. You see, Luke lived in a culture where women were treated as inferior. But in the Gospel of Luke, women actually play an important role. And one of the things that you'll notice in ancient writings is that not a lot is written on the important roles that women played during certain events. The Gospel was written to a fellow Greek of high rank whom Luke addresses as Theophilus. Now, that name means friend of God or lover of God. He was a Gentile, which means someone who is not Jewish. Now, some claim that it was not written to one individual at all, that the name only represents all those who seek to know more about Jesus. But regardless, it's written to the person who may not be too familiar with Old Testament laws or Jewish customs and things like that. Basically, the Gospel of Luke was written for regular people. Now, the important thing when reading the Gospel of Luke or any other part of God's Word is to first understand its true message. You see, now once we understand its true message, then we'll be able to understand and discern what God is trying to convey to you through His Word. It's important not to just read the Word, but study its true meaning. If we fail to do that, then we end up believing what we think it means, and we start to misunderstand what God is trying to tell us. You know, we live in an antagonistic world, and evil lurks everywhere. And so we can't afford to misunderstand what God is trying to say to our hearts through His Word. So like Luke, do your own diligence and seek to understand what God is trying to tell you.